We're live in the Bank Plus studio talking NFL draft. Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're excited about Thursday and Friday, Saturday, but definitely excited about Thursday night in the NFL draft. Can't wait. The show is brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. They are open again. Curbside service. Edwin Watts Golf Shop, County Line Road, for all your golf accessories. Balls, clubs, shoes, you name it, they've got it. Before you go to Live Oaks Golf Club or Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. We welcome in Mike Detillier, NFL Draft Insider, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. Mike, who makes the first trade Thursday night?
I think it's at 3 with the Lions. You're going to hear a lot of different things between now and Thursday night. Cincinnati's not moving. The Redskins aren't moving. So I think it's the Lions who have long kind of put out there that they are interested in moving that pick. And so there's some thinking here. If you want your quarterback and you want to be assured of that, the 3 spot would be it. And I've also heard there's a couple teams that really, like myself, I think Isaiah Simmons. If I had to pick one guy in this draft class and you said, okay, you got money and you think he's going to be a star one day, which one would it be? For me, it would be Isaiah Simmons. And there are a couple teams that are interested in trying to move up. And it's fluid with Simmons. So I think either to draft your quarterback, if it's Herbert or Tua at 3, or if it's to try to swoop in to grab Isaiah Simmons, I think the Lions are the team that's going to make that deal.
Okay. Walk me through. All right, Burrow to the Bengals. Then tell me it. And look, there's so many scenarios that could play out. So, but just your opinion. Where do the next 3 or 4 QBs go in the first round?
I think there'll be a trade up for a team, and certainly the hot name has been Herbert, so it tells you his agent's been working overtime. Man, he getting double time for what he's doing, and so I'm still surprised, and I get it, the health issue with Tua. I really do. But in watching both of them play, I'm still stunned. So many people really have Justin Herbert ahead of Tua Tagovailoa. To me, I'm still surprised at that. But it looks as though that could possibly happen, that Herbert would get selected before Tua. And then I would think Tua, if he gets past the Chargers, then that might be a little bit of a tumble for him. I say a little bit because then I think you'd have teams saying, man, value-wise, we're going to go get him at that point. So I do think all 3 of them will go in the top 10. But I think the trade at 3, maybe teams trying to maneuver for a particular player, could push one of the 2 a little bit farther back than you might think he would be going.
So you have depending on what they may move up, but you have Miami.
And if I'm Miami, I don't do anything.
You just stay pat?
No, my thing is I look at that board. I'm not one player away. Am I completely sold, unless I'm completely sold on Herbert or Tua? I'm not moving. My thing is, okay, if somebody else does, so be it. I need players. And, I took a look at that Dolphin team last year. They weren't a good football team. Now, down the stretch, they played hard, and they won some games. And a lot of that has to go to their coaching staff. Man, they squeezed everything out of that orange. I mean, all the vitamin C they could out of it. But I need players. Why am I bundling up picks, Bo, to go get someone? Let me sit pat, and I can maneuver from there. I get it if you sold on a player. I get that totally. But Miami's not 1 or 2 players away from being a playoff team. Let's be honest. They're just not. And so I need as many good football players on my team as I can get. And in today's age with the salary cap, I could get that first round pick or picks at minimum wage for 5 years.
Yeah.
I can slap that tag and I can get it for. I don't have to do anything financially at that point. I don't have to spend a ton of money on free agency. So, man, it would take a lot of convincing for me. It really would. Now, I don't know how Brian and the owner and everybody else feel about it. I do know the owner would want Joe Burrow. He's publicly said it twice. That's his guy. But I just think it's really going to be difficult, one, to piece together a deal to get to one, to get Burrow, and two, anybody who's dealt with people a certain age, I have an 89-year-old mom, so I get it. Mike Brown's 85 years old. Try to talking somebody at that age out of something they got in their head. Good luck with that, buddy.
Right.
You in for a long sit down. And I think Mike wants Joe Burrow, and he's not going to move off of that point. Now, they may put it out there, got an interest in this guy and that guy, just to see maybe if something would come up, like a Godfather deal that you couldn't turn down. But so far, that hasn't happened, and I don't expect that it'll happen.
You think the Giants could move too?
I think that, man, listen, Gettleman, I have no idea what he's doing. I mean, none. I mean, he's going to screw this up again. And, again, you try to get value at 4. And there are some good offensive tackles out there. And there are 4 really good ones. But my thing about it is Isaiah Simmons is a transformed type player. Why would you grab a lineman? And I can catch one at the early part of round 2. I can't get a linebacker like Simmons in round 2. Common sense should tell you, but that really hasn't applied at times to Gettleman. So my thing about it is, all the rumors coming out of New York is he's going to go for a lineman. My thing is, there's no way I take a lineman at that point. I go after Isaiah Simmons. I think, again, he's one of these type players that no matter where he ends up, he's going to be a star in this league. And that's nothing against Tristan Wirfs or Becton or Andrew Thomas, Will Jedrick from Alabama. Nothing against those guys. I just think Simmons is that good of a player. Have you watched him play? That's my thing. And the first thing I'll say is, well, they played him all across the board. All I know is he played as a slot cover corner, free safety, strong safety, outside linebacker, blitz guy in Brent Venables' defense. I don't want him representing me in front of the Supreme Court, but, man, is he football smart. To do that at that level and being put in all those positions and knowing what to do all the time, it is remarkable in today's world to have someone who's that gifted athletically, but that mentally sharp, Bo, that can play all those positions and play them well. And one quarter he's doing one thing, and the next quarter he's doing another, and then they've got him doing something in the third quarter and something different in the fourth. Now, how many guys out there can do that? Not many, and do it at his level is remarkable. That's why I think that, no matter what happens, and we know it's going to be Burrow, Chase Young, what happens at 3 most likely will be at quarterback, then Simmons would make all the sense in the world to go at 4. But I got a feeling the Giants will probably go offensive tackle.
Mike Detillier, NFL Draft Insider on the Miller Lite guest line at ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Okay, let's bounce down to the Saints at 24. Could Sean surprise us? And if a Jordan Love's there, take him?
It could. That's not what I've heard. But, again, this is going to come down to Sean making that choice. And I do think that as much as he likes some of the receivers, he knows he can get value later on at the receiving core. I've always leaned that he's going to go defensive here, that he's going to go with a defensive player. And if one of the two linebackers are available, if it's Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma or Patrick Queen from LSU, he would lean in that direction. The one guy that I gave a lot of, well, it came down to three for me because Murray was off my board. So it came down to three. Zach Bowen, the outside linebacker from Wisconsin. Former quarterback in high school, and he was a track sprinter. He went to the Wisconsin State meet in the 100-meter dash and the 4x100 meter. All I know is when you go to the state meet and you running that, you a fast dude. I mean, I don't care what state you in, you fast to do that. Transformed over to the defensive side of football. Had a terrific season last year as a rush guy. My thing is on third down, isn't it about affecting the quarterback? It's about getting after him. People say, well, they didn't use him much in coverage. Well, hell, I don't want him in coverage. I want him chasing after the quarterback. That's going to be his role on third down. Get after it, and get him off the field. Give the ball back to Drew Brees. Zach was somebody I thought about a lot. And the other one was Ross Blacklock, big defensive tackle. He's a two-gap performer. I do know they certainly came to a long-term deal with David Onyemata. They signed Malcolm Brown a year ago. I don't know what's going to happen with Sheldon Rankins. And are you willing to pay him a lot of money for a guy that's been banged up the last 2 years? Are you willing to do that long-term? And so it came down to those three, Queen, Bond, Blacklock.
Okay.
And I went with Patrick Queen.
All right. As you know, Belichick and the Patriots pick, depending on what happens. But right now, they're slotted to pick before Sean and the Saints at number 23. So you've got Sean and the Saints going defense, but like you said, sometimes Sean likes to pull a wild card, and so we'll see how that plays out. Where do you see Belichick going here, and could he go QB, Mike, or move around a little bit?
He's always been a guy that likes to play around with pieces, and he accumulates draft choices. I mean, they always got a ton of them every year. This would be a scenario, what happens if Tua falls past 9? We all know his relationship with Nick Saban, which is very close. He knows more about Tua than anybody else, I think, in this draft class because of his relationship with Nick. And even if you watch the HBO series, which is really illuminating about, Nick saying, I can tell you teams that have never got on the phone with me and asked me about a player. Now, that to me is the most stunning part of that entire documentary. That you mean to tell me that you got NFL teams that would not pick up that phone as a head coach and call Nick Saban up and say, Nick, we're thinking about this Alabama guy. What do you think? And he made that comment that there are a handful of teams that have never spoke to him about a player. One thing you do know, Belichick has. He's spoken to Nick about not only players on that Alabama team, but players he's played against. And so if something would happen with Tua, he would tumble a little. I think Belichick, that Tua would be right up his alley as a player. I don't see him going for Jordan Love, but Tua's a different story, totally different story, because I've never heard Nick Saban talk about a player in the same vein as he had us about Tua Tagovailoa and what he did for that program. And I had a scout tell me yesterday what I'm interested in seeing in Alabama, and he said they're always going to have good teams, but didn't Tua make them really special? Hurts and Tua kind of back-to-back. They made them special in what they were offensively because they looked differently. If I'd have give you the stats 5 years ago of what Tua did and what Joe Burrow did at LSU, would you have believed it?
No.
And look what those two guys have done for both those programs.
Oh, It's yeah,
It's stunning how they transformed both of them. And you would have thought hard-headed coaches, and Nick's got some stubbornness to him about certain things, and one of it is about the running game, about how much emphasis he places on the running game. And Ed's the same way. Ed's the exact same way.
sure. And they
He's
were
sort of stubborn about things too, about the running game. But he knew for the betterment of his team that he had to change, and he had to do something offensively different. And when Saban got a hold, he got Hurts and then Tua, he had to change offensively what he was doing. And then when Ed got Joe Burrow, he had to change too. You don't find those guys, they're not the low fruit on the branch. You don't find those guys often. And so I think that he's made that known, just what he thinks about Tua Tagovailoa as a player. I wouldn't be surprised that if there was a team that maybe tried to make a maneuver up, it would be that. The other guy, too, and he ain't never satisfied with the quarterbacks, and that's John Gruden and the Raiders. And it has not been talked. But, come on, we know about it. John's never satisfied. I think he could have had Tom Brady for the last 15 years. He wouldn't have been satisfied with Brady. I mean, he's always got a complaint about that position. And he's got some capital that if he felt maybe a little bit of a move up could ensure him of Tua, I would not be shocked one bit about it. Because, again, having covered this league for long enough and knowing how he operates and seeing what he's done at these quarterback camps and understanding how he is, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. And, again, he's never going to be satisfied at quarterback. Never. I mean, that's just the way he's sort of pieced together.
Sure.
It's always going to be a complaint about someone. And like I said, he could have had Breeze, Manning, Brady for 15 years, and it would still be where we could have done better.
What about let's segue here. Mike Detillier has been covering the NFL draft for 30 years. He joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. Sadiq Charles graduated from high school 5 minutes from where we are, Madison Ridgeland Academy. Goes to LSU, has to play day one, as you know, from demand. Bounces around on the line, but gets better every year. There's talk second or third round. What do you think with Sadiq Charles, Mike?
I think he had the off-the-field issues not gotten involved. And remember, he was suspended for 6 games. I think you would probably be looking at a second-round pick here. But I think some of that is going to bleed him into the third round. I didn't think he could play left tackle at the NFL level, to be honest. I thought he was more of a right tackle or a left guard. Last year he showed he could play left tackle. He got much, much better as a technician. A little bit more focus in his game, a little bit of technical work. James Craig did a great job with him. My biggest concern about Sadiq has nothing to do with talent. He's a little bit of a follower. And, man, he got to watch who he's around because they can get him in trouble. And, you get suspended for 6 games. If that had happened when he's an 18-year-old, but we look at it differently. This happened at his final season at LSU. And there have been a few incidents in between that were concerning for the LSU coaching staff. So I think he goes in round 3. I think he's a tremendous football player. He's a starting player along the offensive line in the NFL. You just hope that the focus for him and understanding he's not on scholarship anymore, and you got to watch who you're around because sometimes those guys are going to get you in trouble. Sometimes they're not whispering the best thing in your ear. And,
right.
Again, 6-game suspension, we understand that's not your first time, when you get suspended for 6 games.
Mm. Well, I hope he's surrounding himself with the right people. Let's transition again. We were talking about A.J. Brown earlier in the show, Mike. He had a wonderful rookie year.
Yep.
Over 1,000 yards receiving, 20 yards per catch, and really an offense that wasn't driven by –
they're not dynamic.
Right. And so this young man, Mike, I mean, that's some second-round ROI, but He can do it all, so there's no telling what he could do if he stays healthy over the next 5 or 6 years, right?
You look at Brown and Metcalf as rookies. They didn't play as rookies. I mean, they really played well. And, certainly A.J. had a great season. And you would love to get a guy like that in round 2. And I look at this year's draft class, and there are a couple guys that are similar. They're not exactly like them, but they have some similarities. And one is Michael Pittman Jr. from USC. They say, oh, Brown, he don't blow right past you. He's not a speedster. All I know is he's running away from cats.
Right.
And DK Metcalf, he had a little trouble at times. I think sometimes judging the football in flight. But he stayed healthy for the most part, and he showed he was a really good player. And, man, he's a man out there on that football field. You got a 6'3.5" guy going up against a 5'10" corner. You're going to win a lot of those battles.
No doubt.
And Pittman's a big man receiver. So is Chase Claypool from Notre Dame, another huge wideout. So there's a ton of them in this draft class, but those two guys are similar to what we saw from the Ole Miss tandem a year ago. Brown's got a chance to do really well, and he's built up great rapport with Tannehill because sometimes that's, you got to have that quarterback trust you as a player. And early on, Tannehill's not a starter, and then he comes in to take over, and A.J.'s a rookie. That rapport between the two of them was outstanding.
It was.
And you can't measure that as a rookie of how well they built that up. I saw it here, Michael Thomas's rookie season with Drew Brees. He would stay after practice and catch passes from Drew just to build that rapport up with him. And A.J. did the same thing with Tannehill. DK Metcalf did the same thing with Russell Wilson. Come on, you got to have that relationship with the quarterback, and it goes to show you, I think probably wide receiver has more misses than any other position in round 1. If you go back the last 15, 20 years, there's probably more busts there than any other position. But you look into round 2, that's not necessarily the case. So what we talked about, Michael Thomas, Brown, Metcalf, where were they picked?
Second round.
Round 2.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. It's going to be a fun week and weekend to see what shakes out. And LSU, as Mike knows, is going to have a big weekend. Mike Detillier.
15 to 16 Phillies pick.
Okay. Wow. At Mike Detillier on Twitter. Also find him on Facebook. He's going to be all over the draft this week and through the weekend. Thanks, Mike. Be good.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Mike Detillier on the Miller Lite guest line, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. The show is brought to you by Superior Foundation. Foundation repairs, you want to go with Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Also, presented by Mud Bugs, slinging crawfish today. Mud Bugs in Brandon.